So I wanted to do a divine nugget that, well, I think it's just going to be short and sweet. And I'm really enjoying the energy of where I'm at with this lesson. And it's something, it's funny. I feel like before when I was doing these videos, it wasn't that I was struggling to find things to talk about, but I don't know, I want to say I was trying to pull them out of the vortex to get like, where is a thing? And nowadays it's more like two or three or five or seven people will come to me and have similar challenges, and then I see like where we are in the map of the energy currently, and then I'm like, oh, that's going to be a video today. And it's really kind of fun to just let it flow in like that, which I think I'm glad that that was spoken, because it feels like that's a good lesson for this. So one of the most consistent things that I've been observing going on in the collective is we're kind of back in this space of the I don't want and I never will kind of energy. And both delightfully and unfortunately, the universe does not respond to contractions like don't, never, can't, won't. So when you say, I don't want this thing, well, actually, here's the funny thing, it does respond to contractions, just not the way that we think it will. It's kind of dual. On one side, it just remove the contractions. If you're saying, I don't want this, or I don't want that, or I don't want them, remove the don't, and that's what the universe basically hears as I want that. I want this, I want them, right? And likewise, on the other side, if we say I want them, but we feel like we don't have them, what the universe hears is I don't have them. It's a very simplistic thing. It's super funny and frustrating depending on where you are in your energy and your journey, but it's very simple rules, and it's actually quite a bit of magic that it is so simple. And and the other side of it is that I don't want to say, I want to say the universe is the part that doesn't hear contractions. Our guides can hear contractions though. And I think that a lot of times we have at least a few guides, all of us, that are like, are you sure you don't want that? And whenever we say, I don't want any more of that, like I won't have any more of this behavior in my life, or I won't ever love as deeply because I don't ever want to be hurt again. Well, what that does is that brings us experiences that test that, because that's either our focus or it's the thing that we got stuck in our energetic craw in our hearts or our minds, that's there to, like, our ego put it there, like stabbing yourself with a pin to remind yourself that the last time something like that happened you got hurt, so that you stop and hurt yourself to prevent yourself from being hurt. And so it's like the universe goes, okay, you're saying you don't want any more of that, or you don't ever want to be hurt again. And usually that's what we're saying at our core is, I don't want to be hurt again. And I don't want to have to uphold, I don't want to have to hold all this emotional armor on, or energetic armor on, or intellectual armor on to prevent myself from getting hurt. I don't want to have to know how trustworthy everybody else is around me. I don't want my trustworthiness challenged. And so what the universe hears is, okay, so you need more experiences that hurt you in order for you not to feel hurt by them anymore. Like, it's a very simplistic thing. It's kind of basic logic, and our guides they're intermediaries, so they understand more about emotions, and they might, say, okay, well, if you're telling the universe you don't want to be hurt ever again in XYZ way. So then it leads you to situations where you, like, say you challenge another person who you perceive as the one that's causing the hurt, and then you say, I don't want that with them, and I don't want them anymore. And then things happen to challenge, like, you guys rendezvousing, and then you get in the test of, like, is this what I wanted? Like, is it the solitude and peace and quiet that I wanted? Is it The way that the other person's behaving. Is it new relationship energy? We like what is the thing in there? And oftentimes we get fixated on like one thing that we want, and then we get it, and then all we experience is the absence of having that experience because we didn't have anything in mind when we didn't have that experience there, and that creates a vacuum that's like, some sort of energy's got to go in there. And if you don't have a plan or an intention on what energy that you wanted there, which most of us delightfully don't, then it's the next nearest, I want to say, heaviest energy that then comes into that space. And oftentimes that's shadow energy first. So, like the next, so if you get rid of like person A who triggers you in the first way, then person B who triggers you in the next way is going to drop in there. And then you're going to keep going in that until you realize, one, that you're calling in the experiences by saying, I don't want that, or I don't want them, or I don't want to feel this way, stuff like that. And then once you stop doing that and you recognize that there's an energetic space in there, that, it's like, with dieting. Okay, a lot of times, like what we need for our height, ideal weight ratio to be healthy and well hydrated and all that, it's really not that much. Especially after, I want to say like after 30-ish, but look up your stuff. Like metabolism is mostly set. You're kind of, you're not going to need a whole bunch more unless you are like a marathon runner or something like that. And even at that, like if you look at the diets that marathon runners have, it's not as much as you think. We don't need that much food to not just survive but to thrive. And when you get like, here's the thing though, is like when you start to change your diet, the biggest problem most people run into is that they were not eating because they were hungry. They were eating because they were bored. They were eating because they were trying to quit smoking. They were eating because they were emotionally stressed. They were eating because it reminds them of a happier time. They were eating because somebody else said it was that they had to eat at that time that they made the dinner, and they didn't want to, like, it was a codependent thing. Some people eat codependently. They eat to make other people happy and not cause conflict, like there's all sorts of reasons that we eat more than we need to eat. And then when you stop eating so much, and you just eat what, you kind of like do a little research. You just eat what is good for your body, and you recognize that most of the time that if you feel hunger and you've had enough calories, it's usually thirst, because they have the same, we experience it the same. We just often confuse them. By the time that your mouth actually gets dry is actually when you're dehydrated. And so, like, once you get little facts like that in there, and you're able to have the willpower to be able to not eat so much, and then you change it to eating healthier stuff, then then it starts to become apparent what was in the place, like what you were eating too much for before. Like if it was a comfort thing, you have to find a new comfort, whether it's reading books or making new friends, or um, exercising in those spaces, finding something that feels fulfilling and feels good. Like, when you figure that out, okay, and then it's the next thing. What was the other thing that I did? Like, what did I eat when I was stressed? Okay, if you were a stress eater or an emotional eater, then when you don't have food in those spaces, you have to have some other way to have some healthy soothing in there. This is what I mean. Like, it creates energetic pockets in there. And when we become aware of those energetic pockets, those spaces, that we're opening up when we're releasing low vibe stuff, then you can go, oh, okay, I'm calling it in. I can stop doing that, or I can work on stop doing that from whatever, level of awareness I have in that. And the more I work on that, the more I'm going to see, the pockets of space. And then, like, the big stuff is going to drop itself in. I'll have to work on that. Once you get through that big stuff, then it's little stuff. And then at that point, you can kind of adorably laugh at yourself and go, okay, now I think it's time that I'm going to start choosing what I want to bring into that pocket. Some lighter energy, some heavier energy. What do I want to experience? And that, like, getting to that place requires going through the shadow work of thinking that you have to have someone else help you decide what you want to do. And sometimes the way to get there is to have somebody do that, and somebody that is not, that there's, it's weird. It's like you want somebody who is confident enough in their own energy and space that if you are still dealing with some codependent energy, that they're going to have healthy boundaries there, that you're not going to like, you're going to be able to move up with that energy. But you want to seek somebody who doesn't give you every little thing that you want to hear, but they're also, it's important to find someone to communicate with. This is why it's so important to go find your tribe, find your collective, find people that you resonate with, your kind of weirdos and things like that, so you can have people that follow that space. But it's also why I feel like I just plugged myself for coaching, and I didn't really mean to do that, but okay, I'll go with it. Like, it's another good reason to have a coach, because that kind of creates a healthy boundary in there so that you can process things in a safe container. Anyways, I'm going to end this here. So, yeah, I mean, examine your communication with yourself and with others. Think about any time you say, I don't want that, I don't want them, I'll never do that again, I'll never accept this again. Any of that sort of vocabulary, and just start working that out. And then, I'm glad I didn't get off of here yet. And then the golden ticket is that when you really want to release stuff that you never want to experience again, the key is that you have to find a way to love it or love them. And because you can't go from I don't like this, I never want it again, to I feel free of that. Like, we operate on love. Like, love is the vibration of freedom. And when you love everybody and all their squishes and all their bad guy masquerades and everything like that, and it doesn't, you don't hurt yourself on what they're doing, then you no longer have to, like, you get to pick and choose what costume you're going to wear next, and it's all fun. And nobody's trying to hurt you, nobody's trying to do something to you. You don't have to carry the baggage, and then you stop manifesting the stuff that you don't want. And the more you do that, the more fun you have with all of it. So enjoy this divine nugget, and I'll catch you in the next video.